Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how you can use Wicked Block Builder to create your own custom WordPress block, in this case a grid that displays a grid of profiles, something that could maybe be used on an about page for an example. The block will let us add more items to the grid, as well as arrange items within the grid and remove items. So let's get started. I'm going to hop over to Wicked Block Builder and click Add a New Block. I'll call this Custom Grid Block. And I'll just assign it to the custom category, and I'm going to enable the wide alignment support option. This will allow us to make the block a little bit wider. For attributes, these will store the data for our block. So I'll add an array attribute to hold our profiles. And for each profile, I'm going to add a child attribute, one for the image ID for each person, a string attribute for each person's name, and one for their title. Next, we need to create the HTML for our block, so we'll do that in the editor view. I'll make this block a section, and I'll give it a class of, I'll call it grid block. And then I'm going to add a repeater, and what this repeater will do is for each item in the array it's assigned to, in this case profiles, it will output whatever HTML is under it. So I'll add a couple nested divs, and I'm using a couple of nested divs just to make it easier to add some spacing in between the grid items. So for each profile, I want an image. I'll map that to the image attribute. I'll add a rich text component for each person's name, make it an H2, turn off formatting, and then add another rich text for each person's title. Make that one a paragraph, and we'll turn off formatting for this as well. Next, we need to style the block. I've already created the styles ahead of time, so I'll just paste them in, but basically these styles just add styling to the block. So I called it grid block, so we're just making it a flex display, and then setting the width for each item in the block, and then just adding some basic formatting, spacing, styling to our grid. The styles don't have to be added here. They can be enqueued in a CSS file if you prefer to do that instead. So we should be able to add it to the page now. Refresh. And we'll search for grid, and here's our custom grid block. And now we can add items to it. And we'll make it a little bit wider so it looks a little bit better. And the last thing to do is just assign some labels to our repeater control, so that instead of over here saying item 1 and item 2, it says each person's name, just to make it a little easier to know if you're reorganizing items, you know what you're moving. As well as over here where it says profiles, we'll clean that up, capitalize it, and then change this to add profile instead of add item. So jump back over to the editor, and we'll go back to our repeater control, labels. For the main label, we'll call this profiles. We'll choose the name attribute to label each name within the repeater, and change the add item label to add profile. So now if we refresh the page, click on the block, and now our repeater component says profiles, add profile, and then it also says the names so that it's a little bit easier to know who we're working with when we're dragging and dropping items. So that's it. If you'd like to learn more about Wicked Block Builder, check out the link in the video's description or visit wickedplugins.com. Thanks for watching.